going to the last topic, we're talking about Mike Martz and his comments about Terrell Owens actually. And Martz expressed deep displeasure with Terrell being placed in the finalists for making the Hall of Fame this year, since his first year being able to actually be inducted. And he's a receiver, one of the two receivers in the finalists, along with Marvin Harrison, who played with the Colts. And Marx's comments were he said surprise isn't the word. You can't print how I felt when T.O. leapfrogged those two. And when he says those two, he's referring to former Rams wide receivers Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. And when he's saying that that's just plain out and out ridiculous. And Owens was asked via Twitter how he felt about it. And he said, LOL, whether it bothers him. He said, LOL, nope, it doesn't surprise me. I expect the devil to become busy when God is in the midst of a blessing. So just to give you all some numbers and background on these guys, in 223 career games, Isaac Bruce posted 1,024 receptions, which is 8th all time. For he had 15,208 receiving yards, which is 4th all time, and he had 91 touchdowns, which is 11 all time. And he had four Pro Bowl appearances, and he also won a ring on the Rams. While you had Holt, who was a 7-time Pro Bowl selection and was named first team All-Pro in 2003 and second team in 2006. He finished his career with 920 catches for 13,382 yards and 74 touchdowns.
14th in all time.
Yeah, and he had this record is a red record. He has the record, NFL record, for most consecutive seasons with 90 catches and 1,300 receiving yards. Marks, he hit 6 straight times in the early. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's kind of the same record that they're talking about with Calvin Johnson having over 1,000 yards consecutive. I mean, it's because he had consecutive seasons doing it, having 90 catches. That's not easy. Having 90 catches, 1,300 yards each season. That's actually a great achievement, actually. And he said, and Martz went on to say, you kind of start with that and said, look at their production. More importantly, look at their yards per catch, and then look at consistently over a long period of time. It'll compare to anybody in some cases. Nobody comes close. I mean, nobody's even close to what Torrey did. Terrell Owens ranks 2nd in receiving yards with 15,934 and 3rd in touchdowns with 153. And while playing for the 49ers in 2000, he set a record at the time. It got broken. But for catches in a game with 20 against the Bears. Marvin Harrison had 1,102 receptions for 14,580 yards and 128 touchdowns. And he made the all-decade team of the 2000s. Do y'all think Martz's comments are inbounds, or do you believe they're out of bounds? Colin, let's start with you. What do you think?
I think they out of bounds. How you gonna come from a man T.O. like that? Like,
your man T.O.
My man's T.O.
You're a man T.O.
My man's T.O. Of course, T.O. has some problems in the media and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of NFL stars do. He made, it seemed like that people don't want to give him his credit, but he was 2nd all time in receiving yards and 3rd in touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Like, this man is good. This man is great. And for you to say he leapfrogged over Hulk and Bruce, that's kind of funny, because this man's actually better than the two. And like his record shows that he's such a great person, like a great great NFL player, a great receiver, and he deserves being in the Hall of Fame. And just to be saying that he just leapfrogged over the two, like he didn't deserve it, is kind of crazy. Although he may have some bad blood with the media and stuff like that, the man's still good. He was good. He was a great receiver, and they need to give the man his props.
All right, Rashad, what do you think?
All right, so there was some stuff that he said that was inbounds and stuff out of bounds. The inbounds is everything he basically said about the stats and everything about what Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce did. He can say what he wants to say. I mean, we sit here and talk about other people who we feel better, who feel deserve something more deserving. So that's inbounds. He can sit here and say he doesn't think he thinks those two are better than Terrell Owens. What was out of bounds was how he fire shots at him talking about, oh, if my players would have been in the media, did all the stuff that he did, then no doubt they would have been first ballot Hall of Famers or something like that. See, that's still the out of bounds part. Like, you can sit here and talk about how you feel your receivers are better, that the ones you coach are better and everything like that, or that was actually part of your like that organization. But when you start saying he only made it because he was always in the media, my players was all, good players, didn't do anything like that, that's where it's out of bounds at. But I mean, you can't take away from greatness. Bruce and Holt basically played together on opposite sides of the field. So, I mean, you can't double team both of them. So, I mean, somebody's going to get off. No, we have T.O. with no help, really. Not like, no, I can't say you don't have no help, but not help like they have, or like Marvin Harrison didn't really have help like they have, really. And you put up the numbers they put up, that's greatness. That's greatness. That's Hall of Fame greatness. Now, I'm not saying that, because I know my man right here, some Rams fan here, and I know I ain't gonna take.
I have objectivity with this one.
I'm not gonna take away from his. I'm not gonna take away from his great receivers that he had there, because they were some great receivers. They had a great running back with them and a great quarterback also. So they just had a great team. I can't take away from greatness that Marvin Harrison and Terrell Owens had, with basically being the only receiver kind of in their system. So it was inbounds and out of bounds.
Well, I believe I actually completely agree with Rashad on his inbounds and out of bounds statement, but because I feel like that's one of the slight, because I don't know why he said that, because that's one of the things that's been, if anything, that's one of the things that would have held T.O. out of the Hall of Fame, because people have always held that against Terrell Owens with his stuff with Donovan McNabb or his stuff with Tony Romo and Jason Witten. If anything, that's been something they've held against Terrell Owens for his whole entire career, that he's been a me player versus a we player. That, when he went to the Cowboys, they had chemistry, but when he felt like Tony was targeting Jason Witten more, he was like, I need my touches. And that friction he created was what messed it up. And then when he went to the Eagles, where they had a great passing and running game with Brian Westbrook there, he kind of, when him and Donovan kind of got into, when he kind of threw Donovan into the bus going to the Super Bowl, when they went to the Super Bowl and they lost, people were kind of blaming Terrell Owens for that, even though they both did play a part on it, Donovan and himself. When, we all remember the, everything, that's my quarterback kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? We all remember T.O. and with his stuff with, for Tony also. But what I would say about T.O. is T.O. stats wise is definitely has accomplished more stats wise. You know what I mean? But where I think I was trying to see Mike's point is that what these guys did, because Rashad, I see what you're saying about he didn't, because there was a time T.O. did play with Jerry Rice also. Granted, it was on the tail end of Jerry Rice's career, but he did also play with, he has played.
At the beginning of Terrell Owens' career also.
No, it was, but I'm saying even in the beginning of his career, he was still a great receiver. So he's played with other good receivers. You know what I'm saying? Even playing with Jason Witten is a great tight end. He played with Chad Ochocinco. He's played with other great receivers. Even in Philadelphia, he had Brian Westbrook himself was a running back and he was a great receiver. They had other receivers to complement them in Philadelphia.
You're not really double teaming most of these players.
No, I'm saying, but T.O. was the number one option people try to take away. But I'm saying, if you're double team T.O., somebody else is going to get off on that team also. You know what I'm saying? And then you have Chad Ochocinco on the other side or Jerry Rice on the other side. Jerry Rice is a bigger name than T.O. So either way, T.O.'s going to still get production, because somebody's going to be getting off and the defense has to shift. Either they're going to try and single cover somebody or they're going to try and double cover somebody. And either way, it's going to leave single coverage for one guy or something like that. And somebody's going to eat. So T.O. has had a benefit of that also. I'm not going to say that he hasn't had receivers, but it is a fact that T.O. has had better numbers than these two receivers. That's undisputedly a fact. When you're second in receiving yards and third in touchdowns, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And you've played for how many different teams? The man played for the Eagles, the 49ers, for the Cowboys, for the Bengals, for the Bills. The list just keeps going on. He almost played for the Seahawks. The list just keeps going on. You know what I mean? So you look at things like that and you're like, man, he's been great he's had a stretch of greatness, but you always wonder why he can never stick with a team. And it was always that stuff with the media and whatever. But then I also wonder if Mike Martz's point goes into the fact that T.O. didn't win a ring. You know what I mean? Because those two guys have won a ring with the greatest show on turf. T.O. never won a ring. And you look at those kind of things and you're just like, when he would be more about the me ball and stuff like that. And Martz is like, look at my guys who kind of, I don't know if he's trying to. I don't know what he's saying with the media thing, because I don't know if you're trying to throw shade at T.O. under the bus kind of thing, under the desk kind of thing. You're throwing shade, but if you're trying to say, look at my guys who were quiet and under the radar kind of guys, and yet they put up the numbers. I mean, what Isaac Bruce's numbers are nothing to snock at either. You know what I mean? Like that man was also great. You know what I mean? But what Torrey Holt did with, you know, the consecutive seasons of 90 catches and 1,300 receiving yards, that's great. And that can't be overlooked. It's just that what T.O. did in a total aspect of things. But what I could also say to playing with another great receiver is that it could also take away from your productivity. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing with what Stephen Curry does on the court takes away from what Klay Thompson could do on the court as well. It's the same thing as with if a team has a great passing game, what that running back in the backfield could do is going to take, like, there's probably so many Vikings players that are like, man, I could just Stephon Diggs is probably sitting there as a wide receiver like, man, I could just be torching people. But you had such a great running back, Adrian Peterson, it could take away from you. The Rams, you had Marshall Faulk, all those guys. You had Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, you had Kurt Warner as your quarterback. There's so many players that, I mean, not everybody's going to be able to eat, but just the fact that I guess what Martz is saying is that we had so many great players and these guys still put up those numbers. You know what I mean? Like, that's great in of itself. Whereas T.O. did play with other good receivers. You know what I mean? But most times T.O. was going to be that receiver that's going to get targeted, where those guys did game in, game out. You don't know who's coming at you. You don't know. Because it could be Marshall Faulk, it could be Torrey Holt, it could be Isaac Bruce. You never knew what was coming at you. Then when you had a team like what they had in Philadelphia, you could say the same thing for T.O., but T.O. didn't always have a team like that. You know what I mean? So it's a toss-up. But at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. That's just the fact of the matter. The numbers don't lie. So I think Martz's comments come out of, I mean, he was a former Rams coach, so of course you're going to have
kind of subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective. You're going to have subjective opinion on these things, but when it comes down to it, now his case against Marvin Harrison, because he didn't really have comments against Marvin Harrison. Really, I guess it was just
said if Marvin Harrison can get in, they can get in.
Yeah, essentially. What did you say?
It's more so about the stats of Marvin Harrison. He's like, well, my guys did this stats, and Marvin Harrison had these stats. Why did they get in? Like he has one Super Bowl. They had one Super Bowl. What's the difference? Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's those kind of things, and he has a point. You know, I mean, you can't fully just outrule his point. He does have a great point with what he's saying, but I guess we won't know until let me actually see. They say you're in there. You made it. The class of 2016 will be decided on Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, with induction scheduled for August. To be elected, a finalist must receive 80% of the votes to be cast by the selection panel, and maximum of 8 inductees are allowed each year. So Owens has been great enough to get into the Hall of Fame, but we'll just see if. So I have a question before we get off the air. Marvin Harrison or Terrell Owens, or both of them, or neither? What are you saying? If I had to choose one, I say no. Who do you think? Not if you had to choose. Coming this Saturday, whose name do we hear or whose name we not hear? The only problem is I just don't know the other people on the other candidates. Yeah, the other candidates. So I can't give you that answer. But I feel like T.O. definitely was going to get in there. I feel like he definitely should get in. If he doesn't get in there, it's because of that media stuff we just highlighted. And people are going to say, oh, well, you did this. You're this guy kind of guy, blah, blah, blah. You were a me guy. But at the end of the day, stats don't lie. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Charles Barkley got in. And Charles is his own man. That's it's just Charles. Yeah, it's Charles. That's all you can say. Charles Barkley is his own guy. But that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. It's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show of your 24-hour day. Also, broadcasting on WODU Live, the best in college radio. Subscribe to the WODU Live YouTube channel where you can see our past shows and other shows as well that you could also be interested in. And then also subscribe to the KBR Sports YouTube channel where you can see our past shows and past segments on there. And follow our Twitter page at KBR_sports where you can see everything that is everything on KBR Sports. All right, y'all take it easy.